Thank you very much. My name is Benji Cohen with Minnesota DNR, work in the Fish and Wildlife Outreach section, and I'm happy to be joined today by Vaughn Snook. He's our what is it? Area assistant area fisheries biologist down in Lanesboro. Been down
Yes.
there forever, so
Yeah.
um, avid avid fly angler, fly tyer, fun guy to hang out with. So love coming down there and talking to you about trout in southeast Minnesota. It's really a super cool area of the state of Minnesota. So we're going to talk a little bit about um, the stocking that happens down there and some of the maps and what you need to know for trout fishing. So I think with that, Vaughn, I'll turn it over to you. Let you introduce
Okay.
yourself.
Okay. Vaughn Snook here. I've got last slide has contact information if you need to talk to me about any questions here later. The other thing would be I'm going to try to use the pointer some when we do this. So I'll go ahead and start here. Well, as a general upfront thing, I would ask that, or suggest, I guess is the correct word, that people get ready to take some photos of their screen because there is going to be some maps in this presentation, just as a general suggestion for everybody. I'm going to talk about aquatic management areas, which are also called AMAs. I'm going to talk about rainbow trout yearling stocking. I'm going to talk about a little bit about our angling regulations, and then at the very end, I've got a couple slides on angling tips for southeast Minnesota trout. First, I want to bring up this. This is southeast Minnesota. A lot of this aerial photo, not aerial, but a map is of Lake City and Lanesboro's management area. Just for your information, Rochester's right here in the center, and sitting right now right here. So Whitewater, if you're familiar with Whitewater here too. So here is all of the designated trout streams in southeast Minnesota. The blue is the stream itself, and then the greenish chartreuse thing is all the tributaries. So there's about 700 some miles right in that picture. And this is the 300 plus miles of aquatic angling easements that we have in southeast. Doesn't look like a lot, but I've been here for 22 years and I have yet to fish every one of those. So there is a lot. And just to give you some idea of why there's trout in southeast Minnesota, this is a depiction of all the springs. There's some light blue dots or circles, and then there's some light blue circles with dark dots in the center. The dark dotted ones are the springs that have been identified, and the ones that don't have the dark dots in the center are assumed. We're identifying new springs monthly here, so there's a bunch of information of that on the DNR web. If you type in springs, I think in the search window there. I'm going to go through angling AMA stuff first. So just so everybody knows, these are easements, so they're not state property. They're still are owned by the landowner. They're easements over top of their property. Landowners are paid once for the easement. The method is in statute. You can find it, or you can ask me about where it is. The easements are forever, are perpetual, and they're attached to the deed at the county courthouse. So they transfer to the future landowners in perpetuity. Landowners with those agreements have restrictions on what they can do within the easement corridor. The modern agreements do not allow tillage. They do not allow dumping, excavation, burning, and then building of new structures. Some keys that you want to remember that we'll hear next week, because angling harvest opener is this Saturday. So we'll hear complaints from landowners, most likely of people walking their dogs in the easement corridor, hunting in the fall, and then shed, morel, mushroom hunting is going to be big right now. Camping and fires. You can't do those things in those easements unless you have landowner permission. They cause a lot of strife with landowners and us. It also means that it's for angling. So you have to have a valid Minnesota fishing license. You have to have the appropriate stamp, such as a trout stamp, and you have to have fishing equipment with you. You can't be just going for a walk. it gives people an idea of what these easements look like. I use this a lot. People have difficulty understanding what the easement consumes of the bank and the stream. So if we assume that this right here is stream center, 99% of our easements are 132 foot wide, which is basically 66 feet to the right and 66 feet to the left. So you can walk in this area. Anywhere outside of this area would be considered trespass. So please stay as close to the stream as you can. You don't push it. The other thing that would indicate, or is good to see, people see stiles, these wooden structures that go up over fences. And here's an example of a regulation sign on our trout stream, and then here's an example of an easement sign. We keep those easement signs small because landowners don't want big fluorescent bright yellow signs all over their property. And but most anglers can catch these as they drive by or walk by or whatnot. So just a couple slides here of what some of our AMA easements look like. This is Thompson Creek down in Houston County. This is, I think, early last spring. Vegetation is brown. This is Beat Creek down in Houston County. Completely different looking stream. A lot of brooklime and watercress. This is an area that's upstream of Forestville State Park. Big cliff faces. In the morning, you get the sun on it. Really pretty. This is an example of a little bit bigger water. This is on a Winnebago Creek in Houston County. There's places in here that are plenty over your head, and it's just bigger water. So it's not, all the water down here isn't just real small streams. We have some big water, big trout water. This is Rush Creek, just north of Rushford. We just did a habitat project here, and I took this photo. That's why the stream banks are all graded back and sloped and new grass planted. You also get to see things like this on this is a kind of a famous spot on Gribbon Creek. It's a spring that comes out of the cliff face. There's springs everywhere down here, as I showed you in that one photo. It's just kind of cool. People don't realize that these are down here. That's just boiling like that all year round. So one of the questions that I get most is, how do I get to the easement? Where do I get to the easement? What's legal and what's not? So let's just say, for example, you want to fish right here where this yellow circle is. Can I park here is the question, and then walk across here? That would be a big no, because this is private property here. Just because you're here on the road and you know there's an easement here doesn't mean you can trespass to get to it. So in this specific one in Winnebago Creek, when I fish this, I park here and then walk downstream down to if I want to fish down here, for example. Same thing here. Another example of Winnebago. I just happen to have these slides. So if you want to fish right here, for example, this is a habitat improvement project right here. Really pretty water, really good fishing water. Can I park here and walk down this maintenance road? That would be a big no-no. That's called trespass. This landowner used to allow some anglers to go in there, and now he allows none because of some issues that we had with anglers trespassing. So if you look at this purple straight line here, we want you to park down here where this star is and walk down this grass waterway. There's those easement signs all the way down through here. So if you want to fish here, you would need to park here, walk down this walk-in, they're called walk-in. Notice I'm saying walk-in, not drive-in. And you need to walk the easement corridor to get to this location here. So let's let me see here. Let's go into rainbow trout stocking a little bit here. This is a yearling rainbow trout, an example of one. It's actually a really pretty one. And then we stock these, and we also stock rainbow trout fingerlings. We stock fingerlings in places, I mean, most people wouldn't probably want to eat this. This is like a smelt fry or something, but these things actually grow really well from this size. We've had some 19-inch rainbows caught where we stock these fingerlings. And they jump like steelhead, I've been told. So let's go over a little bit of rainbow stocking stuff. So the primary purpose for rainbow trout yearling stocking is to increase opportunities for anglers to catch trout and provide angler harvest, some trout harvest if they so desire. The total number of yearlings, rainbow trout yearlings that we stock in the Lanesboro area is close to 30,000. It's 29,250, and usually there's surplus trout at the end of the season that we can use that probably makes it above 30,000. We always were, so this year, April 12th, this coming Saturday is harvest opener. We stocked before, we're stocking, we stocked some on Monday, we're stocking on Friday, and we'll continue to stock all next week and in weeks coming. But we try to do, our objective is to try to hit before holidays when people are taking vacations. I want to catch fish, and then it's dependent on time and whether the fish are available from the hatchery or not. We don't stock when it's high and muddy water. So if you're in the know that it just rained big down here, and you're wondering if we recently stocked, the answer would be no. We don't put them in that, because rainbow trout are known, when they hit the water, they're known to swim, and high and muddy water makes them swim far, far away. So this could, in some cases, this could delay spring stocking. It hasn't this year. We haven't had a lot of heavy flooding, knock on wood yet. So here's the place where you might want to bring out your cell phone with the camera, or take screenshots, or wherever you want. There's 19 of these maps. They're general locations of where we stock rainbow yearlings throughout the year. This isn't all this week or next week. That would be impossible. We need a fleet of 20 stocking trucks and 20 more people. So, but we do this stocking throughout the summer, spring, summer, fall. So here's the first one, Beaver Creek in Houston County. The red circles represent areas. You can think of it. If we have a truck that has 750 gallons of water on it, it's pretty heavy. It's a diesel truck, stocking truck. We can't just stock way back in the woods. So we usually put trout where the road and the stream and an easement come in close contact with one another. So these are some places on Beaver Creek in Houston County. I rarely see people fish this. This would be a real good one for people to take advantage of. We don't put a whole lot here, but I'd like to see some anglers down using these fish. Here's one in Camp Creek. This is near Preston. This is on the bike trail. You can park at Puller's Park, Puller's Park is right here where my cursor is, my highlighter is, and you could walk up the trail here and fish all this water. Creek back in Houston County. I've got red here, red circles. Again, you can see where the road crosses the bridge, or the road's close to the stream. It's where we'll stock. Dushy Creek in Fillmore County. I'm actually in this office as we speak, and the hatchery is across the road from us here. But the hatchery does all this stocking. We also go up here and stock, and maybe sometimes down here. That's probably one of the most popular spots, actually, in Southeast, is for anglers during opening weekend. The parking lot here is, the parking lot that's right about there is pretty much packed. Here's a spot on Sylvan Park Pond. This area too is also heavily fished. So here's the upstream end of the pond that we stock. This is in Lanesboro, as I said. We stock 10,000 rainbows in that pond annually, and by September 30th, there isn't a rainbow trout in that pond, so it gets utilized. This is in Chatfield. This is Mill Creek, all the way through Mill Creek. It's kind of convenient. It's all city park right through here, and you can go down and eat, and it's kind of a nice convenient spot. And it's actually fairly relatively close to Rochester. Here's some spots on the South Branch of the route in Lanesboro. Here's the Lanesboro Dam right here. That's probably the second heaviest fished spot in the southeast Minnesota right there. South Branch of the route. This is further upstream toward Preston, Lanesboro. You can see Lanesboro over here, and Old Barn right in here. We stock in here, and some at this bridge here. This is somebody caught a 20-inch rainbow right here 2 summers ago. So that's pretty big. Preston, downtown Preston, I guess you would say. So here's Camp Creek coming in here, which I just showed you. So we hit all these spots here where bridges cross and along the bike trail here. It's kind of convenient. Rush Creek gets, I think, 1,000 in downtown Rushford. Kind of convenient too, as people can go into town and eat and whatnot. Spring Valley in town. This is a popular spot for locals. I'd like to see more others here. But there's a senior citizen assisted living home, I think, right here somewhere, where those people are just so thankful for rainbows being stuck there because they can go out, not have to walk very far and catch some rainbows. It's pretty cool. Riceford Sportsman's Pond was just stocked. It's kind of in a weird outback spot here up in the top right of this aerial, but Mabel's the closest town. It's actually called Mabel Sportsman's Club Pond, and it's on Riceford Creek, if that helps. But there's rainbows in there right now. Whitewater, obviously a popular spot. This is County 30 bridge. This is the furthest downstream that we stock them at this canoe launch that's right here. I've seen during a creel survey, I've seen people catch northern pike, and I have a guy catch a big channel catfish in here too. So it's kind of getting warm water there. North Branch Whitewater River, if you're familiar with Elba and Whitewater. And then the town, quote unquote, it's mostly RVs, is up here in the top left. The town of Fairwater. We put a whole bunch along the road there. That's a good spot. I do see people fishing that. Middle Branch in Whitewater State Park. Again, Crystal Springs actually does the stocking for this Crystal Springs State Fish Hatchery. And I know that they've told me where they put some fish in too at these green circles. That's a very popular spot opener. So here's Crystal Springs State Fish Hatchery. And obviously it's fairly easy for them to put trout right at the back on the bridge there on 37. Willow Creek just outside of Preston. I don't see a lot of people using this one. There's a bridge here and a bridge here. And we also we can get back into here and put some down in this area here, but this is kind of a quiet little spot if you're interested in catching some rainbow yearlings. That's relatively close to a town where you can go get food or whatnot. Winnebago Creek. Yeah, here's Camp Winnebago Springs. It's called now. We put some in there. You can't drive in here. It's a campground, but you can park at this bridge and walk in the easement. And then we put a bunch down here, and on occasion, we throw in some here too as well. Okay, let's talk about trout stream regulations. FYI, this is a really nice brook trout that we sampled last fall. That was in October, what they look like when they're spawning. Let's talk about regs here. So from our regulations are complex, I'll say. January 1st to harvest season opener, you can catch and release in all trout streams in southeast Minnesota. The rule is right now is that season harvest opener is the second Saturday in April. And this, as I just said a while back, with April 12th, this is this next coming Saturday. You can also catch and release from October 16th to December 31st in some restricted areas. We have areas in towns that we mentioned there, and some in Whitewater State Park where you can fish in this window of time. Something to do during Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. If you got relatives at the house or whatnot, you can go do some fishing. And we removed the barbless requirement for hooks. Let me see here, maybe like 2010. So that's been gone for a while, but I still get phone calls about that. Am I required to use barbless hooks? And I say, no, you can use barbless or barbed hooks, your choice. Harvest season, I said again, I'll say it the third time, is the second Saturday in April. So in this case, it's the 12th. It goes till October 15th. So the general Southeast Minnesota trout stream regulation is 5 trout in the daily last possession limit, with only one of those greater than 16. So we get people confused about daily and possession. You can't catch 5 trout this Saturday, put them in the refrigerator or freezer, and then go catch 5 trout on Sunday, because you will be in possession of 10 trout. You got to eat them before you can go get more. So that's a violation thing that happens frequently. We do have some streams that have a catch and release regulation on them continually. They're in the special regulations in the DNR fishing handbook. We do have one stream that has a brook trout regulation on it. And we do have several streams that have a protected slot. One of the types is that allows all angling methods, which is bait, lures, and flies. And then we have some that are restricted to lures and flies with no bait. Again, all that information is at the special regulations pages in the latest booklet. So let's go through some tips here. This is a friend of mine's trout that he caught. I think it was this last summer. Nice big healthy male brown trout. So first thing, we have basically 3 types of gear: bait, lures, and flies. So bait is about 1/3 of our anglers use bait. It seems like all the gas stations now carry bait, whether it's usually night crawlers, and sometimes they'll have red worms, and sometimes I've actually seen mousies in some of the waxworms in some of the places, even during the summer. So here's the worms. Everybody knows what a worm is, I think. Red worms, night crawlers. They're probably number one as far as bait's concerned. I don't see a lot of people using grasshoppers and crickets. They're free. They're right there in the grass, especially during July, August, September. They're a great bait for trout. Trout love them. Something about bobbers. I see a lot of people taking warm water lake fishing stuff to stream stuff. Yeah, you could use bobbers. I would try to stay with some smaller types down here. These bigger, heavier types with the lead on the bottom, and they scare the daylights out of trout. Trout have to deal with kingfishers and herons and eagles all day long, and the last thing they want to see is a big fluorescent bobber splashing on the water. So it's best just not to use bobbers at all. The 2 hooks that I'd recommend: Aberdeen hook is good because you can grab a hold of it. It's got a long shank on it. You can grab a hold of it and take it out of a trout's mouth fairly easy. Get your pliers on the end of it here. The other one that I see people using a lot of bait holders, they have these little barbs on the hook shank to hold the nightcrawler or the grasshopper or whatever else. And little size 8s. I see people sometimes using like 2s, size 2s. Those are usually way too big. Trout have relatively small mouths. I would consider 8s and 10s to be optimal size for hooks in these categories. Let's move to lures. So lures legally are called, the term is artificial lures. Nobody knows what an artificial lure is. I mean, you don't go into a Cabela's and ask where their artificial lure section is. Nobody calls them that, but that's what they're called legally. So most popular lure is inline spinners. Everybody makes, not everybody, there's a lot of people that make these. MEPS have been around since forever. They're really effective. Jerk baits, the soft plastics, I think a lot less people use these. They don't realize the trout will eat these as long as they're under 3/8 or under 3 inches. A 2-inch one, crappie size ones, smallmouth bass ones, real small walleye ones all work really, really well. And then of course the crankbaits that look like little trout. This is a little brook trout, little brown trout maybe, or a perch type color. Those are all really, really effective. Twister tails, I see people using these, and they put a little jig head on the front of these and bounce these off the bottom. Trout can't resist. And then I see people using tube jigs a lot now too, which is good. Basically crappie type lures or smallmouth bass lures. And you can change up the colors here with muddy water, do a bright colored one, imitate a little crayfish maybe with this brown one, imitate a little minnow with this clear blue one. So there's all sorts of things that you can do with these. There's a nice silver one, looks like a little minnow. Let's talk about flies a little bit here. I could give a 2-hour presentation on this, but for fly anglers, if they don't already have it, search hatch chart on the DNR webpage. There's a hatch turret in there for insect hatchings down here. I'd also use your local fly shops down here. We have one in Preston, the Driftless Fly Fishing Company, and one in Lanesboro, the River Rod. They have people in there that all they do is fish. So I would tap them for information before you come down, or when you're down here too. They have lots of flies at both places. I thought I would put, because I could give such a long presentation on this, I just put some basic things on here. This is these are two famous nymphs in southeast Minnesota. The pink squirrel, which is actually, this is the original in the bottom right. There's variations of it. Here's a variation with a darker body, but basically a bead to get it down deep, and a pink little thorax, and then some hairs here, real prickly dubbing. The other pattern that was originated down here at the River Special, it's either has black dubbing or peacock curl with brown hackle ripped through with a bead. That's real popular as well. We have lots of mayflies down here. If you've never been down here, this is actually a female dark Hendrickson. You might recognize the name. This is a male dark Hendrickson, and then I think this is a blue-winged olive. You can see the hairs and the back edge of the wing there. Tells you who it is, what species it is. Lots of caddis. These are the three adults here, and then we have a lot. Obviously, they're larval stage built cases. This specific one is the Mother's Day caddis that comes off usually just actually before Mother's Day here. So that's usually the biggest caddis hatch we have down here. Stoneflies, we do have a few stoneflies. They're in bigger water, colder water. This one here was dead, actually sitting on the sidewalk in front of our office. I think last spring. First time I've seen an adult right here in front of our office. This is a nymph. This is the immature. This one we found on the south branch of the Whitewater, sampling 2 or 3 falls ago. Big, they're an inch plus long. The other thing that I think people forget about is the trout in these streams. When they get to a certain size, they start eating other fish, and the primary other fish category is little trout. So these are little brown trout that we're stocking. We stock them on riffles, but an imitation for those is this in the bottom left there, something tan brown with par mark. You can see the par marks on their side there. I don't see a lot of people fishing imitations of little brown trout, but there are some that are doing it, and we see them in stomach contents all the time in trout that regurgitate their meal when we're sampling them or whatnot. But they do get eaten. So, and lastly, here we do have some big trout in southeast Minnesota. This one was caught in 2011, right in front of my office. Here I actually looked out my window here, and this was actually on a Saturday. So this telephone pole is right in front of the hatchery. This is not a broodstock fish. This is either a fingerling stocking fish or a naturally produced brown trout. So that's big male with a big old mouth on him. And the last slide here is my contact information. If you need to discuss anything, have any questions, either now or later, you think of one later, email me is best because I can get that on my cell phone anywhere I am, but you can always call me.
Vaughn, great job. It's
Thanks.
always a fun time of the year to get out and enjoy a little bit of spring weather. I love the trout opener. Haven't been very good at getting out on trout opener. Maybe I can actually try to this year. Looks like I might have a free weekend, but you had a few questions on this polling thing, and I'm going to open that up now. So if everybody out there, if you see the poll pop up, it should pop up on the right-hand side. If you'd answer some of those questions, I'd appreciate that. If you don't see it, the 3 little ellipses at the bottom. These kind of come from your creel surveys, which, do you want to explain what a creel survey is, Vaughn?
Yeah, so we once every 3, 4, 5 years, we interview anglers on site in streams that we've selected as having an interest in knowing who's using them, where they're from, how they're using them, et cetera, et cetera. So on occasion, I think the next one here is coming up here, maybe next year or in 2027, but there'll be a young person, a young beginning fisheries person starting, to come up to you and ask you some basic questions. It's kind of interesting when we get the summary I think we had the 2021 Creel survey. We had over 1,000 interviews with anglers. So that was my goal for the Creel clerks, and they nailed it.
It's great. It does really help you
Yeah.
guys kind of figure out who's fishing where and what's getting caught and kind of help your management plan, right?
Yes. Yes. And it helps other things too. We sometimes well, the Whitewater State Park Creel survey, we provided Whitewater State Park. They like to know who's using their park. And if we get a lot of anglers in one spot, we may or may not increase the numbers of rainbow trout, for example, that are stocked there. Um, there's all sorts of things that come into play on how we manage our streams with using the spot. So
Great.
what do we got up here? I've seen
S-
people
You know,
ready
see
for
if
the
you want
first
to
site, not
pull
started.
down your PowerPoint there, you can do that. You had a couple
Okay.
of questions in there. JW asked if this deck was available for download. I think somebody wants our map. So we don't have it available for download, but we do record all these. So this will be linked to our website here, hopefully the next few days.
Yep.
We just got a new process for that. So I got to figure that out, but we will have it up and available for download. So David said, thank you. Lots of great information in there. So Brent, is there a resource to report beaver dams for removal on trout streams?
Yeah.
Did he,
You can email us or call us. Um, FYI, we probably know about it, but I would rather have you tell us than assume that we know about it. We're having a lot of difficult time trying to find people to trap beavers and to do beaver management. It's probably one of the most frustrating things that we do here at this office is getting those things taken care of. I'm not anti beaver by any imagination, but when they're in our habitat projects that we spent taxpayer dollars on, and we're not taking care of the beavers that are ruining the habitat project, then that is what's concerning to me mostly. So yes, you can email me, or you can email the office. You can call me, you can call the office, whatever you like. But if you see them, I mean, we're down here every day. We're out in the field all the time. We probably know, but don't assume that. So
great. And where do they find that link to report them? Just calling you is the best.
yeah, if you type in Lanesboro in the DNR search, the DNR webpage, you type in Lanesboro in the search window, the first thing that comes up is our office, and it has our phone number and email there. And then
Perfect.
my contact information was at the end of that slide there. You can email me as well. So
Lee has a good question on here too. Do you need a trout stamp if you're stream fishing in a designated trout stream but aren't
yes,
fishing for trout?
that's an awesome question. That's a common question. So yes, that was easy answer. The reason behind the answer is because a designated trout stream is considered managed for trout, and therefore you're quote unquote not going to catch anything but trout. We all know that's not the case, but yes, the trout stamp pays for things that we use to manage trout with. And so if you're on a designated trout stream, you need to have a trout stamp. And if you're harvesting or keeping trout in a non-designated trout stream, you need a trout stamp as well. But you can fish non-designated trout streams without a trout stamp. Just don't target, quote unquote. The key word is target. Are you targeting trout or not? So
Yeah. And short trips are great. I mean, it's kind of a fee to ourselves for avid
yeah.
trout anglers that we use that for habitat improvements and stuff
Mhm.
to make Minnesota. And I know, Vaughn, you're not from the state of Minnesota, but I think the Minnesota probably has some of the best trout fisheries between the east and western Rockies in the country. So
Uh, Based on the numbers of the pounds of trout we have per acre, we have more trout per acre than the driftless does. So that would include Iowa and Wisconsin as well. I won't leave those two people out. A little bit of Illinois, but yeah, I mean, we don't have mountains here. We don't have snow-capped mountains. We don't have skiing after you trout fish or something. So we can't provide you with those things, but there are lots and lots of trout here.
yeah, it's great. Jim had a question. Could you talk a little bit about recent fish kills? I don't know how much you want to touch on any of that, but
Yeah, so we usually have about at least one a year, if not more minor ones. Um, the process is, I think, really getting smooth. The process of follow through, PCA, Department of Health, Department of Ag, and DNR. We have people that do many things, but we have I think we have a real good system of getting the word out. A phone tree, say, it's not phone, it's email, but everybody gets notified ASAP. The state duty officer, I maybe should have added that to my slide presentation. The state duty officer I have it in my cell phone when I give presentations to fishing groups. I always provide that number. I bet you could type state duty officer in the DNR search window and you might find it. I don't know. But it's a number that you call if you see a natural resource concern, and it's anonymous. You can remain anonymous, and the phone tree for it goes to PCA, goes to Department of Ag, goes to DNR fisheries, and we hear about it within 15 minutes, literally half an hour, less than that, of when the person called in. So I haven't tried searching for that, but I have it. If you think people.
I just looked it up. I'll throw it in the chat
Did you?
here in just
Oh,
a
okay.
second. So we get to
State duty
Linda,
officer.
our friend Linda. Oh, Cassie beat me to it there. Our friend Linda asked a question. What do you know about Garvin Brook? Have you fished it?
I think that's Garvin Brook behind me. Yeah. Yes, I have fished it. It's a great stream. There's lots of easements. You can start way up in the headwaters where there's brook trout, and there's probably going to be nobody there because it's 3 feet wide, and you can fit a lot of habitat improvement projects have been completed on it. There's state forest area on it. You're close to Stockton. You're close to Winona. It's like the perfect setup for if somebody wanted to. It is small water though. I mean, I don't want to send somebody there and go, oh my gosh, people, the stream's 15 feet wide. How am I supposed to cast in this? So it might be overwhelming, especially when it's August, when there's so much vegetation up. I wouldn't go in August. I go into the pasture stretches during August. So, but if you were to fish that early, Garvin's a good hit right there. That's close to Winona. So,
all right, Linda, give me a call. We'll make a road trip. So, David asks, as a former Pacific Northwest resident, you use salmon eggs a lot. Are they good down here?
Yeah. I didn't say that. I should have, maybe. I could have. Salmon eggs, and I see people using power bait, rolled into a little ball and put on one of those bait keepers. That works really well too. I see some people at the Lanesboro Sullivan Park Pond use floating power bait, and then they put a sinker in front of that, and so that the sinker goes to the bottom, and then the power bait floats up above in the water column when the rainbows are doing their circle around the pond. It's like perfect. Perfect technique. That's a Nebraska technique, I think. That's the Nebraskans did that.
That's a good one. At Sullivan Pond, we always get a group down there fishing every year for the tune camp, and it's always fun. So, Doug had another beaver question. He said, are beavers generally or always bad for southeast Minnesota trout streams?
Yeah, no, they're not. They're not bad. They do a lot of good things. When I was a kid and fished Michigan with my grandpa, that's what we went to go find. We went to go find beaver dams, beaver ponds, because that was where all the brook trout and big browns lived. So that was something we had a quest for. And we'd hear at the bait shop that a guy found a beaver pond, and we'd go there. So they're not bad, but they can cause issues with private property. If you got a barn or a garage or something that's flooded now because of a beaver dam, and then our habitat improvement projects, how water moves through a habitat improvement project is greatly changed when a beaver dam is downstream. So that can cause issues with future maintenance for those projects and whatnot. Those cost considerable amount of money. So I wouldn't say all beavers should be removed from southeast Minnesota, but I wouldn't say also that we should just not manage them via trapping or whatnot. So
good. Jeff just says many thanks. Great, excellent overview. So
okay, good.
Kyle had a point. I don't know if you get any tips on this, and I was trying to rack my brain too, and I don't. But Kyle bit off topic, but any recommendations on dispersed camping spots in southeast Minnesota? He's camped and fished in the Kickapoo Valley Reserve in Wisconsin. He's looking for something similar in Minnesota.
Yeah, there's that's a good question. We get that a lot relatively. It's a common question, I guess I'll say. The best way, if I were you, I would, and I can provide you that information if it's not available to you, but um, the DNR foresters down here, there's some units that allow dispersed camping. There's some that don't because of past problems with dispersed camping. I think there's some places in the Whitewater, I think, that allow it, but you'd have to talk to those managers. I'm not very helpful, but if you email me or call me, I can send you to the people that would help you.
There you go. I just looked, when you said that, I was looking at the DNR site because, that's
Yeah.
my go-to. The state forest, but they do allow dispersed camping. So I just put a link in the chat there. So
Yeah.
Kyle, if you want to check that out.
There's some that have been restricted now.
Yep.
Is that what it says? What did you say?
Well, it just goes to the site. So
Okay.
you'd have to look through there and figure
So
out
each one
what
is
state forest you're close to and
yeah.
download the map for that and figure out which ones
Okay.
allow it, which ones don't. So
Okay. Yep. That makes sense.
off the top of my head, I don't know which state forest are right in the area down there, but
It's all the Dorr State Forest,
okay.
but DORER, but I'm not quite sure if each one of those has their own unit name, and
Yeah.
the foresters go crazy with all that, and they give them numbers and stuff too. So I don't know. If you email me, I could send you to the right people.
Reed put a question there too, and I was going to grab it before I left. And I found my Wisconsin one, but I don't have my Minnesota one handy with me. It's probably out in my fishing bin. But we do have a great map and book for southeast Minnesota trout streams. We're just wondering where you'd find those maps and where the easements are at. So
Yeah. There's several resources. The first resource is the state parks down here, our office, and then the hatcheries all have limited supplies of the latest 2021 booklet. We're in the process right now of producing the 2025, and it won't be out within the next month. So sorry to say, but it's the way it goes. So we might have them here. If you find a hard copy somewhere, everybody in this office is able to help you with the booklet and highlight some areas where you might want to go. The other sources of information, if you go to the DNR website and type in AMA for Aquatic Management Area, there is an AMA finder, and then you can also do the stream finder.
Stream Finder, yeah.
Yeah, which is it's real similar, but it's more detailed in what it provides. But the mapping I don't think is as good. Maybe I'm wrong. I use them both. So AMA finder, stream finder.
And both of those links are in the chat function. So if you want to open the chat and click on those and open those up.
Yeah, bookmark those things. Those are if you want the latest and greatest of information, the AMA finder is updated with a click of a button, whereas the other things follow it. So if you want to find the most recently perched easements, the AMA finder, I think, is the one to use.
Great. If you do visit those fly shops, every one of them probably has a map, or you can buy a book. There's lots of books written on southeast Minnesota too. So
and they use them and with markers and pens too. I've been in there when they were using them. So anglers want to know where I can go right here. I want this kind of experience. I don't need this little 2-foot wide stream because I'm taking my kid. So I want a bigger water. So they'll point them in the right direction. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things to do when I travel around and have a fly rod with me and time to go fly fishing is pop into a local bait store or fly fishing shop and just pick their brain about what's biting on or what the fish are biting on and then what to use and spots to go. So most of the time, not always, but most of the time they're pretty honest with you. So they want you to go out there and have fun.
They want you to come back. They want you to come back and buy more stuff. So they'll try to be honest. Be honest with you. It will pay for them if they're honest. So yeah.
Lucas was asking, what type of rod reel combinations do you recommend down there?
Assuming you mean spin fishing, maybe. Does it say?
It doesn't say.
So
So
so spin fishing, I would um medium light. I'm assuming you mean spin fishing, 6 foot 6 inch, even a 7 foot long medium light spinning rod with your line of choice. Live bait guys tend to use mono or fluorocarbon, and lure guys tend to use the braids and stuff. I've noticed. And then bait even lighter. I've seen people use ultralights a lot too, but the medium lights, for throwing spinners and for throwing tube jigs and stuff like that is nice because there's 20-inch brown trout, as you know, down here. So, and then for fly rods, I'm a longer fly rod. I don't subscribe to this. Each of their own, but I don't subscribe to this little dinky 7.5 foot 3-weight fly rod thing. I've got one. I'll admit that I have one, but my go-to fly rod is a 9 foot 4-weight. Length helps me get around stuff, and a 4-weight is nice when you want to throw a hopper or a little streamer or something like that. So, but yeah,
lots of options
very
for you,
very
Lucas.
few
So
people use. I don't know anybody that uses a bait caster, but you could. And then the push button spin casting ones, you could use those down here just fine too. We got those in the office that we use. So yeah,
yeah, I think they actually have a set of those at
yeah,
Whitewater,
yeah. We've
loan
got
out
those
if you ever
too.
want to try it. So
Yeah,
and you can fish for free in a lot of our state parks. You can't in Whitewater because of the trout stamp regulation, right?
yeah,
But we do have some loaner rods down there, I know. So
yeah, yeah. That's kind of nice. I keep forgetting about that. People want to, they don't want to go out and buy stuff, and they just want to try it out with their little kid, for a weekend. They don't have to go out and spend hundreds of dollars. They can go check out a spinning reel and yeah,
yeah, especially if you're camping down there, it's a good way to
yeah,
spend an afternoon or a morning. So
yeah, yeah,
I think we got through all the questions, Vaughn. So
yeah,
awesome. Thank you very much again for your time today and sharing your knowledge and passion of Southeast Minnesota. I think it's a super cool spot in Minnesota, and it's a great road trip, especially from the metro area, just to pop down there in an hour or two and do some fishing. So a lot of great camping areas, a lot of fun stuff, and small towns to visit down there. So
yeah,
well, George popped one more. Oh, just thanks for all the information. So
yeah. You're welcome.
all right, well, hopefully see everybody next week. If you're planning to come to the turkey cooking webinar next week, I do believe we're going to end up canceling that. I got a call in um, right now, so check back next week. I'm trying to fill that spot, but there was an illness, so we're not able to do that. But hopefully, I don't see you next week. We will see everybody in 2 weeks. I forget off the top of my head what the program is in 2 weeks, but um, hope everybody has a safe weekend. Get out there, do some trout fishing. It's supposed to be a fantastic weekend outside. So great weekend for trout opener. So enjoy, everyone.
Thanks.